Could we wash the feet of our betrayer? Could we look them in the eye and kneel in front of them, bare with merely a towel around our waist? Let's make this more realistic. Do we have the capacity to maintain love and compassion for someone who has stolen something so great from us? Take the time to think about this right now. As we just completed this Lenten journey, have we taken the time to really reflect about the trials we faced and where God was in all of that? Have we been working on our personal relationships with God? Meaning, have we been able to close previous chapters in our lives and allow God to heal us? If we have done all of this, could we humbly wash the feet of our betrayer? While we're in our thoughts, let me tell you the story of the living gospel. No, let's not do that. Her name is Ayam. At the time, Ayam was 21 years old in college. She just finished her winter break. She went back up to school. Ayam has two siblings, a sophomore in college and a sophomore in high school. They grew up in a two-parent household on Long Island in the suburbs. She's a brilliant young woman. After a long trip back to campus, she received a phone call from her neighbor. Tragedy had hit home. At first, she was told that there was a gas leak in the house and killing both of her parents. Later, she found out it was a homicide-suicide. Her father bought a gun the week before, used it on her mother before turning it on himself. It was at the point where the siblings' lives changed forever. Ayam, being the oldest, is now being the breadwinner, the caretaker, handling the wills and the estate. She's the anchor of the family now, all at 21 years old. Not even out of college. Life didn't even start yet for her. And now she has the weight of the world on her shoulders. All of this while still trying to grasp the fact that her father took away the two greatest things that ever mattered to her and changed the life that she knew, the only life that she knew. Most of the days, she had to keep a straight face and handle family business. But one day she came home, she sat on her cousin's bed and she began to cry. She was weeping. She said, "I don't even know what to do. I just can't believe this happened. My father's brother called me. The funeral's on Saturday. They want me to speak." She continued to cry, and she said, "I'm not even mad at him. I feel terrible for him. I knew he was in pain. I wanted to help him." Wow. Ayam and her brothers can't even go back to the house they grew up in. They had no idea what was going to happen. With the youngest brother's living situation. She didn't know if she could finish her final semester with everything going on. Her mind was crumbling. All of this rummaging through her mind, heart, and soul. And instead of capturing all of this anger and suffering and placing it towards her father, she did something much greater. She looked past all of that, looked deep into her father's heart with an empathetic eye and took mercy. I say mercy because she could have used this opportunity to shame her father, to talk terribly about him in front of his whole family. But instead, Ayam went to her father's funeral and she wept for him the way she wept for her mother. "A new command I give you, love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another. John 13:34 through 35. Let's ask ourselves, can I wash the feet of my betrayer? It's hard because sometimes the trials we face break us down so much that we can't even look into the hearts of our betrayers. Sometimes I don't want to look past what the person may have done to me. I don't want to look at the drunk driver who may have had a family who just killed my child and realize that they may never see their child again. I can't always look past the deeds of my employer who worked so hard to fire me and realize that they wallow in their own self-pity and self-hate. I don't want to see that my cheating partner has been so unhappy in this relationship that I've just not been willing to see it or acknowledge the fact that they have not been happy. I don't want to see other people's truth. I don't want to realize that everyone has their own story, everyone has their own situation. But if Jesus could look his executioner in the eye, get down on his knees, take the act of a servant, why can't I love someone who took away my decency? Jesus looked beyond my faults and saw my needs. And I can't stress this enough. All of this was going on while Jesus was awaiting his own death. Ain't that something else? The humility, the grace, that's grace. So the next time someone asks you, how are you express your Christian faith? You tell them what Christ told you. You love one another as I have loved you. And when they ask you why, you tell them because it was so important that Jesus came back from the dead to make sure we got the point. Whenever you are doubtful or unsure of the gospel, remember it was God who rose Christ from the dead to show us that God isn't a joke. Christ comes back to wipe our slates clean so that we may practice loving one another every single day into life everlasting. I said Christ is coming back this week. We are preparing for his return because we heard the good news. Oh, wonderful gift salvation is. How comforting is it to know that God knows us better than we know ourselves, and God knows our weak points. God realizes that we won't get this right the first time. We may not even get it right the second time. And God said, you have all the time in the world and then some. God is patient and believes we have the internal power to do so with God on our side. So before we leave each other tonight, I'm curious to know where this message took you. When I asked you to think of the trials you faced, what did you think of? Where was God in that situation? When I asked about your Lenten journey, did you strengthen your relationship with God this season? Don't worry, you still have time. Easter's only on Sunday. We have a few days. After all this reflecting, let me ask you this one more time. Can you wash the feet of your betrayer? And if not now, then when? Amen.